left behind who said, I used to support them, but I can't take it no more. Come back home. We need your wisdom. We need your honesty. We need your experience. Come back to the fold that made this great nation and led us to be great again. To the undecided, to the skeptical, to the observers, I invite you to take a second look. This is a new era, new leadership, a renewed commitment.
The Public Utilities Minister is telling fired CPEP workers that government will put policies in place to empower them beyond cutting grass for the rest of their lives. Barry Padarat said more sustainable jobs are coming and is calling on the PNM to refrain from using the former CPEP workers for political expediency. The Public Utilities Minister posited that CPEP was used as a political pawn by the PNM, but now the UNC will bring it back to its original moorings.
So when I hear about the mothers who need to put food on their tables, buy school books, that is why the government's thrust, this government's thrust, is to ensure that we have the laptop program, that we can have affordable food prices. So it is not about keeping people in the mindset of cutting grass for the rest of their lives.
And taking note of the PNM's thrust to help the now fired CPEP contractors through legal advice, Padarat asked where was that energy when other workers lost their jobs during their term in office. And while the UNC press conference was taking place, opposition leader Penelope Beckles and a group of her MPs met with scores of recently terminated CPEP contractors in Couva to offer free legal advice and representation. Speaking after the meeting, Aruka Lopino MP Marvin Gonzalez claimed that the government has repeatedly made spurious allegations against former government officials and public officials over the procurement of contracts for the social program.
If they have any evidence that these things were breached, then come forward and say so. But you just can't go forward and just make statements to mislead your supporters and throw red meat to them. It is simply not true.
Gonzalez also rejected claims that he and his former cabinet colleagues took similar action against contractors who were granted contracts and renewals on the cusp of the general election in 2015. Those were your 6 a.m. news headlines. We'll have another news update at the top of the hour right here on CNC3 and the TPC Radio Network.
The Morning Brew is brought to you by Omega XL. Live long, stay strong.
Monday morning, running into the very final day of June 2025. Today, Monday, the 30th day, and by all means, we bid goodbye to the month of June. We get ready for July, and we could safely say the July, August, at least the vacation. Some students obviously still in. I think this more or less would be like the final week. And yes, let the fun and the relaxation and the games begin as the students get a chance to unwind and relax. Even the teachers, definitely this is your time to travel, to unwind, to reflect. And indeed, we continue to do the job, bring to you all the top stories via our news cycle and give you that, as always, just an independent analysis. And speaking about independent, I will get to a story that grabbed my attention via The Guardian this morning. Welcome one and all. JW signing on, Jason Williams and the team on this your Monday for the Morning Brew. So, come back home, that's the call, as history was made yesterday officially. Penelope Beckles is now the officially newly installed and minted PNM leader. We all know she is indeed the opposition leader, and yesterday they had their coming together at City Hall to unveil and to, I would imagine, celebrate and set the mandate, set the particular blueprint as the party, PNM that is, rebuilds. And the newly minted political leader who is stepping on stage, to much applause and jubilation there. And by the way, she's been in the party since 1995, so many who would have called for Penelope to take the lead, and they wanted her to take the lead. And she put herself up a couple times to no avail. There was no success in the prior attempts. But she finally got her day yesterday officially. And with her particular mandate and style and ethos, she is saying to the PNM faithful to come back home. And that was part of the mandate in her inaugural speech. She says she wants to embrace their wisdom and experience, because as you know, about 100,000 of the PNM faithful did not show up in the April 28th election. They opted to stay at home, withhold their vote, as it were. And I guess that is part of the restructuring plan and finding a way to engage and to encourage those who would have stayed away to come back, as she says, home for the next constitutionally due election, which would be 2030, 5 years from now. Could be before, you never know. But the reality is it's a restructuring and starting from, I could almost say, I want to say ground zero, you know, but indeed lots of work ahead for the newly minted political leader, and congrats to her indeed, and we will stand by on the sideline to monitor all the progress and the different moves. Speaking about different moves, I'm watching a very interesting one where the current government are putting some blame at the feet of the independent senators. The claim is bias. And this story develops on page 7. And this was the one when I mentioned the word independent this morning that grabbed my attention. Now, it's been my personal observation that the independent senators seem to be rather cordial with both sides of the political divide. Independent senators, I've seen it firsthand, they knock glass and laugh and rub shoulders with everybody. But when it comes down to the actual voting and the process in the upper house, well, it seems at this point in time, lots of fingers being pointed at them based on firstly, debates, the controversial Prime Minister's Pension Amendment Bill. You know, that's a point of contention, a sore point for the government. And I'm watching UNC Public Relations Officer Dr. Kirk Mayhew making that particular claim during the government's press conference yesterday. So I want to go on to the article and read some important points, some that stood out to me this morning. Now, the independent Senator Anthony Vieira, who I think based on his track record probably is the longest serving at this point in time independent senator, right? He says, quote, if the government wants support from the independent bench, that's easy. Just give us compelling and persuasive arguments. He says, somehow I think that might work better than trying to demean and belittle us or via veiled threats and attempts at intimidation, end quote. Now, the UNC strongly criticized the independent bench, questioning their impartiality and suggesting that the president, that's right, the president, President Kangaloo, known for her close ties to the PNM, and again, they're not being, that's not fiction, that is a reality, but they're claiming here that the president, known for her close ties to the PNM, strategically, hear this, strategically appointed them to undermine the government. And again, it's a back and forth. Rather interesting development, and I guess if we have some time and open the lines later, we'll get a chance to elaborate, or at least give you a chance to weigh in on that story. Before I head to the sports page, really quick follow-up story out of Tobago. The Chief Secretary, remember there was the whole issue with the ambulance and the procurement and the bacchanal with the ambulance and the vehicles. He says the procurement regulator to decide the ambulance issue. That story on page 11. We head to some track and field on the back page this morning, and we say congratulations to Deja Reed of Zenith Athletic Club. She won 4 gold medals in the girls under 15 category. So she got gold in the long jump, 60 meters hurdle, the shot put, and the high jump. That was during the NAAA TT Junior Track and Field Championships at the Hazley Crawford Stadium. Deja Reed, we salute you this morning. Congrats. And that's a beautiful picture there of Janae Digans in full stride, taking part in the well, that's the long jump over the weekend. So again, to all the youngsters, well done. Keep your head up and let's continue producing great athletes. I hope that we could have them in the fold so that these names could call on the Olympic stage in the years to come. We head to the brief on this Monday morning. Winners of the tech competition provide innovative solutions for pressing issues. I'm seeing Minister Saddam Hussein here, Minister of Legal Affairs, all smiles, with some of the winners of the Appropriate Technology Competition, ATC. That story here on page 3. Via the boss report this morning, well, Sarud is going to come in to give us some details concerning Augustini, who seeks prestige. That development, again, the movement of the big money, the big business. That analysis up next with Sarud via the boss report.
Welcome to Food Basket's Hyperactive Fitness Club in Arima, where achieving your goals is our #1 priority.
Hyperactive Fitness, baby, that's the place to go.
Life with Guardian Life.
Every sunrise brings a new beginning, a quiet promise that we're never truly alone in life's journey.
So grateful for this precious life. Embrace it with a fearless stride. Dig so deep to turn your dreams to reality. With a bright future on your side. Through every journey you will find what you've earned and accomplished. You now deserve to be. Embrace life with Guardian Life. Pave the road for your legacy. Embrace life with Guardian Life. Every step is one step closer to live easy.
Embrace life with Guardian Life. Life, health insurance, and pension solutions.
Strides are being made to treat with SDG 2, Zero Hunger. Did you know, by changing simple actions in our daily lives along with the help provided by institutions, we could provide food for everyone in this country through agriculture, forestry, and responsible fishing? It is time to reconsider how we produce, how we sell, and how we consume our food. Let's change the cultivation system in order to feed TNT in a sustainable way.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh-cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488, 701-6680, 728-6786, or visit our website to order.
Get the best in affordable eyewear. Frames with blue filter lenses and eye exam, $399. Single vision lenses with transitions on designer frames, $799. Progressive transitions with designer frames, $1,399. Happening only at Seaview Optical. Affordable eye care for everyone.
ChatGPT, I'm falling.
Failing grades? Contact Student Hub.
I ain't say failing, I say falling.
Then it's time to stop failing. Student Hub helps students succeed online. If school feels like a free fall, Student Hub helps you land on top.
As per usual, Sarud joins us for the boss report. But before you get into all the details, Sarud, let me extend a heartfelt congratulations on Boss Securities Limited, a 30th anniversary celebrated with your grand gala this weekend. Congrats, Sarud, and keep up the great work.
Thank you very much, JW, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to the boss report. Well, today we're taking a look at one of the more interesting transactions to come across the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange in recent times. We're talking, of course, about Augustini Limited's pursuit of Prestige Holdings Limited. Now, both groups would have very similar ownership structures pre-transaction, and it's also anticipated that they will have very similar ownership structures post-transaction. Now, is it attractive for Prestige Holdings Limited investors or shareholders, and should they accept the offer? Well, let's take a look and look at some of the considerations that Prestige or PHL shareholders should be thinking about at this particular time. Now, in terms of the overall offer summary and details and key dates, well, the offer summary includes an all-equity offer to Prestige Holdings Limited or PHL shareholders, in which for every 4.8 PHL shares tendered, 1 Augustini share or AGL share will be received in that exchange. Now, there's a slight asterisk there for fractional shares where there's not exactly a 4.8 to 1 exchange. Those fractional or incremental shares will be cash settled. Now, in terms of some of the key dates, well, this offer would have opened just about 2 weeks ago on the 17th of June. The expected closing date is in about 3 weeks' time on the 21st of July. Settlement of Augustini shares, as well as that incremental cash payout for those fractional shares, are all expected to take place on the 31st of July. Now, post-transaction, it's expected that the PHL or Prestige Holdings Limited, with the exchange being effected, will be delisted from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Now, what could Augustini what could Augustini Holdings Limited look like from a market share structure, well, an ownership structure and a market capitalization structure post-transaction? Well, fairly similar to what it would have looked like on a pre-transaction basis. In fact, at the pre-transaction level, the top 10 shareholders of Augustini, based on their annual report, would have accounted for just about 86.5% of total shareholding ownership, whereas with respect to Prestige Holdings Limited, that top 10 shareholding would have accounted for just about 80%. On a post-transaction basis, assuming that 100% of the shares are acquired and exchanged, that share ownership structure in terms of the top 10 shareholders would decrease slightly for Augustini to just about 84%. Now, in terms of market capitalization, that's quite interesting. We can see that pre-transaction, that is before the offer was announced, Augustini had a market capitalization or total market value of just under $4.5 billion, with Prestige Holdings also at around $800 million. Now, post-transaction, with the accumulation or issuance of new shares and making some basic assumptions that Augustini is going to trade at around its existing market value, that market capitalization could increase to just about $5.3 billion, which actually puts it as in company of being larger than NCBFG, for example, at $4.88 billion, and sneaking up towards Massey and Antimacal, two of the larger conglomerates, at around $7.5 or $7.7 to $7.8 billion, respectively. So on a post-transaction basis, well, there seems to be some significant improvement in terms of that market capitalization, making for a much larger group and certainly a much more diversified group as well. Now, in terms of Prestige shareholder or Prestige Holdings Limited shareholder considerations, well, every investor's situation is unique, of course, but there are 3 things that we are looking at in particular with respect to this offer, and that is in exchanging your PHL shares for shares of AGL, there will be a change in cash flow characteristics of the particular stock, as well as the nature of investment returns that you might expect to generate over time. Of course, there's a change to business risk and profile and diversification, as well as potential market liquidity. Now, when we take a look at that cash flow consideration and in terms of and business return profile, we can see that post-transaction, Augustini is expected, based on fiscal 24 results for Augustini and PHL, to have earnings attributable to equity holders of around $309 million. And of course, that was based roughly on AGL's or Augustini's and Prestige's respective fiscal 24 results, with some adjustments for consolidation. Now, most interestingly for Prestige Holdings Limited shareholders, we can see that post-transaction, AGL is expected to be able to pay a dividend based on those historical or trailing 12-month dividends of both Augustini Limited and PHL, of a dividend per share of just around $1.68 per share. Now, of course, there should be potential synergy effects, etc. But just looking purely at the trailing 12-month dividends paid for both groups, that would peg the AGL shares post-transaction with the issuance of new shares, etc., at a dividend yield of about 2.6% in comparison to PHL, who pre-transaction would have been offering investors a dividend yield of about 4.7%. And that post-transaction dividend yield would be consistent with AGL's pre-transaction dividend yield of about 2.3%. Now, we spoke about the cash flow characteristics. What about the nature of investment returns? Well, when we take a look at AGL, they have been pursuing a fairly active pipeline of acquisitions over the past few years, and that would be reflected in terms of their growth in total assets, with a series of companies acquired strategically, of course, over the past few years, growing their balance sheet in terms of total assets from just about 2.95 billion to 4.59 billion at its most recently released financials, that is for the 6 months of fiscal 2025. And that really represents a roughly 55% increase in total assets. So certainly in terms of the strategy for growth and value creation for investors, it's a bit different with respect to Augustini Limited compared to Prestige Holdings Limited, which is a pure play restaurant holding company. And finally, in terms of market turnover, well, PHL shareholders may be asking the question, or should be asking the question, well, will I be able to easily buy and sell these shares? And for that, we took a look at the market liquidity, or the liquidity or market turnover for each of Prestige Holdings Limited as well as Augustini Limited historically. And what we can see is in 2023 and 2024, Prestige Holdings Limited was just a bit more liquid than Augustini Limited, with a 2% market turnover for Prestige in that orangish color versus Augustini of 0.56% in 2023. A higher ratio or higher percentages is better in terms of liquidity. And in 2024, they were pretty much on the same pegging at 1.32% for Prestige and 0.91% for Augustini. Now, in terms of overall market liquidity, it should be stated that liquidity on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange isn't that great overall, and this is pretty much par for the course for both Augustini and PHL in terms of market turnover. So, is the deal attractive for PHL shareholders, and should they accept it? Well, again, investors' situations are particularly unique to them, and that decision, of course, will ultimately be for the investor. But in terms of some pros of the transaction and the offer or the proposed transaction, well, AGL's growth strategy is certainly one which offers a higher propensity for that longer-term growth through acquisition. There is a degree of built-in diversification, not just in terms of the business risk profile, but of course, in terms of AGL's regional expansion initiatives, where a lot of its expansion initiatives have been outside of Trinidad and Tobago. There is, of course, the potential for synergies, which would impact more efficiency in terms of, or improved efficiency in terms of cost management and perhaps revenue generation. And of course, there's a very healthy premium that would have been offered upfront in that exchange ratio for Augustini and Prestige Holdings shares, which would have equated to just over 25% prior to the offer being announced on or being made public. Of course, one consideration for PHL shareholders is, of course, that lower dividend yield, falling from 4.7 to, in our estimates, just about 2.5 to 2.6%. However, investor in PHL shares currently could, of course, accept the offer. Of course, if they held the shares pre-announcement, they would earn an upfront instantaneous premium of 25% increase in the value of their shares, and they could always sell those shares of AGL, those newly acquired shares, onto the open market and generate that liquidity and reinvest it into something that might be perhaps a higher dividend yielding, or even into fixed income or alternative cash flow, higher cash flow instruments to their preference. So that's it for this week's edition. For more information, you can give us a call at 226-8773, email us at info@bossfinancial.com, and of course, you can check out all of our research, including this publication, at our website, bossinvestment.com, and you can catch this article in the business section of today's Trinidad and Tobago Guardian newspaper. So until we meet again, stay safe, happy investing, and we'll see you again on the Boss Report.
Food basket, nation's #1 supermarket, bakery, restaurant, meat market, fresh produce and everything fantastic. For everyday low price, things real nice. Come in once, but to come back twice. Wholesale, retail, everything for you. A real much I wanna shop for go view. Food basket, the nation. Nation's #1 supermarket, bakery, restaurant, meat market, fresh producers, everything fantastic. Food basket, marketplace Shaquanas, where shopping is a pleasure and the price is right.
So I hear Better Homes has the best kitchens.
You heard right. We have Shaker style, modern Euro, and hardwood.
I like this one. Can I test it right here, right now?
Sure, but how are you gonna do that?
All right, y'all, come inside. Are you ready?
Time to live.
Oh, a spice rack.
Soft closed door hinges. Oh, these countertops nice, well.
He's hot, you know.
So, what do you think?
Well, this
100%.
is it. I'll take it.
Build the kitchen you love for less at Better Homes, Caroni or French Street.
Have you ever experienced an unexpected power outage? The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management has some important and simple tips to help you and your loved ones be better prepared for a power outage in the event of a disaster. 1. Ensure that you have candles and extra torchlights as alternate sources of lighting. 2. Keep fully charged power banks to recharge your devices. 3. Use hand-cranked radios to receive updates from official sources. 4. If possible, keep a power generator or AC inverter that can be connected to a car battery to use as an alternate source of power. 5. Ensure your grab-and-go bags and home emergency kits are packed and ready. The ODPM wants you and your loved ones to be better prepared. For more information, visit www.odpm.gov.tt. A message from the ODPM.
When I am with my friends and those pains that knock me down arrive, I take Panadol Ultra because it relieves fast 5 types of tough pain and it does not irritate the stomach. That's why my choice is always Panadol Ultra to feel relief quickly and enjoy every second. Panadol, release starts here.
Asafa Powell, the Jamaican sprinting icon who shattered the 100-meter world record and redefined the limits of human speed, reveals the relentless drive that fuels his journey.
Omega XL, this good for your giants them.
Try Omega XL, it works.
Minister of Rural Development and Local Government, also Member of Parliament, the Honorable Khadija Amin, joins me on the phone line. Of course, Minister Amin is on the ground. I must say I've seen firsthand lots of work happening, and with yesterday's unprecedented rain, I'm sure you would have been in touch with all the different corporations, Minister, to give us an update this morning. I want to say welcome, and I look forward to your information. Good morning, Minister.
Good morning to you, and of course to all those who are in studio who I know would have been started their day very early. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to share what's going on and update the public.
Indeed. I know yesterday we had unprecedented rain. What's the reports coming out from the different corporations, and which corporation or area would have been impacted the worst yesterday?
Yeah, well, most of the reports came from the regions in the north. So we had Diego Martin, Port of Spain, Sour Laventil, and Sandy Grande, where we had several incidents, several reports. There were people whose homes were flooded in the Diego Martin region. We had several fallen trees and landslips. The road to Fort George was also blocked at a time. The power saw crews had to go up there and cut and clear the roadway. And in the St. Anne's area on Friday, a tree fell on someone's home. So while residents would have cleared that tree with power saws and so on, our team has to go to do an assessment, because I spoke to the residents, and they do have some damage to their home, but thankfully nobody was injured. In the Sandy Grande region, you also had a road blocked up there, Foster Road, but they were able to clear it. What we had was the concentration of flooding in the Diego Martin area. So right off the Diego Martin main road there, that terrace where you saw a lot of slush, gravel, some tree branches and so on. It was natural debris. So that would normally come down the flood waters, which tells us about what's happening higher up in terms of the hills, in terms of loose soil. And that is happening a lot, because you see these rivers overflowing, but the contents is a lot of silt and slush, and it tells us that there is a lot of unprotected land higher upstream.
Indeed. Minister, I want to ask you, in terms of the working relationship between your ministry and the corporations, walk me through that, because, I mean, obviously I know there must be that chain of command and that particular rhythm to work in tandem to get these issues resolved in a timely manner.
You know, just this week, I think it was on Wednesday, I had a meeting with all our disaster management teams from all 14 corporations. Because remember, we had several yellow alerts and we had an orange alert back to back. And out of that, we really had to do an assessment of their performance, see what resources they are missing for them to step up their game. And I seriously believe in empowering them, the regional corporations, to do what they are supposed to do. In many cases, they don't have the resources, the personnel, and you have to listen to them. So we had a very productive session on Wednesday. I also issued 90,000 additional sandbags in preparation for the rainy season, because the Met Office told us it would be a very active rainy season, so we have to prepare. In the regional corporation, every corporation has a disaster management unit, but they have one disaster manager, 2 field officers, and a person for the office. So that really limits them when you have this concentration of flooding or any types of disaster in a particular region. What we usually do is take people from the other regions, the other disaster units, and send them there. So for instance, in Diego Martin, where you had the concentration of flooding, you will have personnel from other corporations going across there. But we have to ensure that the disaster management units can really handle the capacity they should, based on the geography, based on the population. So for instance, Tunapuna Piako, they start from Blancheshires in the north coast and go all the way down to Monroe Road in Cunupia, from the Valencia River Bridge right across to Mount Hope. So when we look at the how wide it is, we also know it's the most populated. They have 250,000 people living in Tunapuna Piako region. In Kuva, Tabaki, they are also a very wide region. Their population is lower, so it's more sparsely populated. It takes you longer to get from one point to another.
Interesting.
Not to mention the condition of the roads. So one of the things we are doing also is having centers closer to each regional corporation, so that when it's time to dispatch, whether it is power saws, pumps, whatever we need to dispatch, it is closer to each region. So
Interesting.
Rather than it taking a longer time to
Minister, interesting.
dispatch.
Minister, interesting you mentioned Kuba Tabakit. I had, I believe it was the chairman or one of the councillors from the corporation there, and I remember he said when they had some inclement weather recently, this would have been either a week before, they had to draw for equipment from the Arima Corporation because, of course, they needed heavy lifters to move some of the debris. So I understand I guess there's a lot of different shifting as it's a needs basis from what I'm getting here.
Yes, certainly. And you would recall that just as I came into office, we launched a flood mitigation program. And really that was the Prime Minister's initiative to, say, get boots on the ground. And in every corporation, you have equipment. Not all of them working, by the way. Some of them are really badly off, but with the corporation we have. We also issue equipment from the ministry and from the state agencies that fell under the ministry. And that is why everywhere you drive, you could see trucks and backhoes and excavators working, clearing water courses, because we have been able to pool areas, resources, and send to concentrated areas that we know are flood prone to clear the water courses. We also have a partnership with corporations where we pair them up, so that there are corporations that do traditionally have less incidents than others. And so by working them together, or in groups, sometimes we have 3 of them together or 2 of them. And so we were able to clear most of those water courses. But it's going to be a very active rainy season. And there are other mechanisms as well. For instance, as I tell you, this is a multi-ministry approach. So the Ministry of Work has a lot of work programmed and approved where they're going to be dealing with those riverbanks that have been eroding for quite a number of years, the floodgates and so on. So there are areas where floodgates are recommended. So for instance, in the Diego Martin region, when I visited there with the mayor and so on with their flood mitigation program, they recognize that some of their watercourses that go out into the sea, there may be a need for floodgates because when it's high tide, the water does not flow out. And you should have a system there to prevent the local area from flooding until the tide recedes. So they have a duty now to make those recommendations to us. It's not good enough for a corporation to say, well, we do all that we could. And this doesn't fall under local government. That is not the approach. This government is a government that is dealing with it in an entirety. So regional corporations are asked to make their recommendations, and then the engineers will step in and we'll see what is required, whether it is local government or Ministry of Works. So all of them have that responsibility, but certainly in Diego Martin, a lot of those areas now, the disaster field officers will be doing assessments. When we in local government do assessments of people's homes, we go to see if they have damaged appliances, furniture, clothing, even school books and so on. And we pass that information to the Ministry of the People. And I have to tell you, the response from Minister Vandana Mohit has been really encouraging. Some of our disaster officers would have gone on the field and would have been met with aggression on when people who have been flooded several times, all they come back again. And you know, this time I've seen Minister processing things that used to take 3 months, being processed in 3 days. So, and to me that's important because flood victims, it's really a traumatic experience, and although we can't give them back everything they lose, we could at least assist with easing, you know, the recovery.
Indeed.
So
well,
all the regional corporations will be doing assessments for the Spain, Diego Martin and Sao Lavantil in particular.
Minister, I want to thank you as always for the update. You know, I'm seeing firsthand you're on the ground putting in the work, so keep us in the loop, and you always have a place here to share with us if there's any incident. All the best, and keep us posted.
Thank you so much.
That's right, the Honorable Khadija Amin, Minister there of Rural Development and Local Government, and also Member of Parliament. Let's take that pause and we continue with our discussions this morning. We will be touching on this pension amendment bill, calling out of the independent senators by the government. Our political analyst, Dr. Indira Rampasad, joins me to unpack the layers, as it will. See you soon.
Food basket. Food basket, nation's #1 supermarket, bakery, restaurant, meat market, fresh producers, everything fantastic. For everyday low price, things real nice. Come in once, but to come back twice. Wholesale, retail, everything for you. A real much wanna shop for confused. Food basket, the nation's #1 supermarket, bakery, restaurant, meat market, fresh producers, everything fantastic. Food basket. Marketplace Chamfleur, where shopping is a pleasure and the price is right.
Ready to turn heads and steal the spotlight? Then head to Rosari Bridal Couture, your all-in-one fashion destination for every celebration. From stunning bridal lehengas to simple everyday shawwas, sparkling jewelry, affordable kids wear, stylish Muslim clothing, and even puja essentials, we've got it all under one roof. Get free footwear with any bridal outfit and get free matching bangles with kids wear. Need the perfect fit? Our in-house tailor is here for you. We're open 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Just take the Southern Highway to Brentwood, Chaguanas and call 723-9099 for more info. Rosari Bridal Couture, where fashion meets celebration, all inclusive. Discover a breakthrough in healthcare at Liberty Medical Center, where expert care is affordable. See top specialists in endocrinology, diabetes care, dermatology, psychiatry, psychology, urology, obstetrics, and gynecology. We offer ultrasound, x-rays, and ECGs. With full diagnostic services, an in-house pharmacy, and compassionate care, you'll leave feeling better than you came in. Visit us at 154 Pointe-de-Pierre Road, San Fernando, or call 610-4562. Liberty Medical Center. Your health, our mission. Recession have you down? Don't lose hope. Head on down to Tire Clinic for the recession deals. Big savings with our road hazard warranty on Dunlop, Temitomo, and Falcon tires. Available at Tire Clinic, Cuba, Chaguanas, and Pleasant Park. Tire Clinic, a tire for every need. Call 636-8973 or 636-2958.
Konnichiwa! Watashi wa the mighty K. So I just want to sing a little example for you. What me and mommy make up. So start the music, DJ. I did take my supplements, yes I do. Oh my God, it's really working for you. This helps my body feel just spreads like a focus lead. Day and then deny their dreams. Need a healthy start. So I'm taking care of my body in every part. Hey.
Political scientist Dr. Indira Rampasad joins me yet again on the program. Always a joy to have you on the show, Dr. Rampasad. I'm happy because this morning I told myself when I saw you on the lineup yesterday, I normally get the notes the day before, I said, I know this morning's discussion will be a vibrant one, and it's a very timely discussion because coming out of yesterday's press conference where the UNC would have put forward their criticism, very, very sharp criticism towards the independent senators. It will roll over into that debate with this pension amendment bill because I'm thinking, and this is just me thinking out loud, and I'd love for you to give some perspective. These independent senators are indeed professionals, leaders of their particular vocation and industry. But I believe we are all human before professionals. And I wonder if that strategy, calling out the independent senators, could indeed backfire. Because based on what Independent Senator Anthony Vieira is suggesting, he's saying that the best way to persuade them is to bring compelling arguments, as opposed to calling them out and bringing that correlation between their appointment and the perceived bias of a president who, as we know, would have appeared on a PNM stage in the past and is, well, clearly without a doubt, they're suggesting here, probably leaning in that particular direction. And they're saying that some of the appointments might have been strategic to undermine the said government. So there's so many moving parts here. Dr. Rampasad, I want to give you a chance to weigh in. Do you think that strategy of calling them out could backfire?
It's not the first time they've been called out, and they've not only been called out by the government. I've seen, a lot of comments on these appointments. First of all, they're not officially labeled independent senators. That's what they've been touted as. They are presidential appointees. There are nine president senators, presidential appointees as senators. There are 6 on the advice of the opposition leader, appointed on the advice of the opposition leader. And there are 16 on the advice of the government. Okay, so the government gets a majority of senators. It becomes very, very tricky, however, when you have the opposition and government combined, which is 9 plus 16. JW, how much is that? So how much? I'm sorry, 9 plus 6 on the government side.
Yeah.
That's 50. That's 15.
Yeah.
Now, ideally, there are 15 government because the president of the Senate chairs the meeting. And he, in this case, Senator Weidmark, he would have a casting vote if necessary, which I think he exercised with the children's bill, I believe. He didn't exercise it for that. He exercised it, was it for the revenue bill? For one of them. The politicization of the senatorship. The president's office, no, it's supposed to be an independent office, or at least the president is supposed to exercise her appointments, her duties in an impartial manner. It's supposed to be, and I said suppose because the president is appointed by an electoral college. However, because of the way the electoral college is constituted itself, the government of the day usually gets their way in their choice of a president, even if the opposition doesn't support that presidential appointment, which I think when this government was in opposition, they didn't. Yeah, they didn't. It was. I remember. Right. It was a vocal protest. It was a big controversy, and it has to do with the fact that, and although the laws doesn't mitigate against it, it's justice must seem to be served, not just be served, but seem to be served. It has to do with the fact that this president was actually a politician and an active politician. Between 2007 and 2010, she was the MP for Pointe-à-Pierre. So she ran for that seat and she won the seat. And so she was an active politician. President of the Senate, you're supposed to exercise a level of impartiality. But coming out of that, and then, there's some alleged family connections with the ruling party at the time, the PNM, would have sort of stained her character. So she comes in with that. She has the jurisdiction to appoint 9 senators, like I said, they're not labeled independent, but they also expected that those 9, and not the government ones, not the opposition ones, those 9 are expected, because they are appointed by a president who's supposed to exercise their duties impartially, those 9 are expected to do the same. JW, the issue here is, I don't know if persuasion would have changed anything, because there has been a pattern of voting of the president senators, and the pattern has been, they have the statistics 14, 15 times out of 15 out of 16 times voting in support of the opposition, even when they were in government. And I think this pattern is what is disturbing, more so for the government, because now they have a piece of legislation that they need to get past the Senate. And I would say need to get past the Senate, and I would say it in jaded terms, because I will tell you that you don't really need to get past the Senate ultimately. So that right now they would like to get past Senate.
And that has to do with the pension bill vote.
The pension bills. No, I am saying that you don't. Let me say this, JW, it's important, because there are some misperceptions out there. Even if those senators do not support this bill, you need it for the immediate passing of the bill, yes. But in the future, next time, they can call the Senate again and run the bill through again. And if the senators do not support the bill can go straight to the president for assent. So, and it can become law. That is Section 65(8) of the Constitution.
Let me ask you
there is that provision.
Well, let me ask you directly, Dr. Rampasad, what do you say to those who bring the compelling argument that this bill is political vindictiveness and wickedness on the part of the government? Because they're asking for this retroactively, which will impact only one person, ultimately.
Well, it will impact one person in the immediacy, JW. But this bill, I mean, if Kamala Prasad decides she's going to demit office next month, she's going to be affected, or next week, she's going to be affected. Because what it does, it proposes a tiered system. So I think if you serve 1 year, you get 1/3. If you serve 2 years, you get a half. If you serve 3 years, you get 3/4. If you serve 4 years, you get all. If you serve 5 years, you get all of the pension. But AW, you and I have sat in this very forum, and there was a concern, a deep concern, and there's widespread concern. This is not just me. This is not just you. And I have to say, from the behavior of the opposition bench, and there have been some abstinence, there have been some changing of minds within 10 minutes while that was being debated.
And the concerns were indeed justified, but I'm thinking here it already happened. So it happened already. So are there not legal parameters that could we can end up in a legal monkey pants?
So certainly, and I think the government is aware of this. They have a battery of highly qualified lawyers there. That many of them, some of them are even in government. They're members of parliament and they're in the Senate. So yes, there's the legal and there is the ethical. Okay, and the principles of ethics and fairness and integrity, they're not law, they're natural justice, more or less. But like I say, and I started off by saying, justice must not just be served, it must be seen to be served. That's a popular adage in law. So there is the legal. And I think they're prepared for that. And that is something they're going to have to face. Okay, so they'll have to be ready to put on the court clothes if it comes to that. However, I think it is in the opposition's interest to support this bill. And why am I saying this, JW? They suffered a crushing defeat in the elections recently, 28th of April. This was one of the issues. I would say this was definitely one of the issues that led to that defeat. There is widespread public opinion against that, not just Minister Stuart Young, but any individual getting that kind of pension after 1 day as Prime Minister. So this is the ethical consideration. And this is the backlash, the public backlash that you would face. So like I said, it would be in the opposition's interest. I'm not advocating or campaigning by any means. I'm just dissecting this politically here. It is embarrassing. It is embarrassing for the government to have to face this. It was a campaign issue. The opposition of the day, now government, had raised this over and over in the campaign. And the population was up in arms because JW, it was also linked to the increase in the Prime Minister's salary, that meteoric increase in the Prime Minister's salary and the pension that the Prime Minister would take home, which Dr. Rowley is currently enjoying. And then also a Prime Minister serving one day just added salt to the wound. So it is embarrassing, and that is why there's some hesitancy, even in the government bench. Yes, there's a legal dimension to it, and I never pronounce on the law. I'm not qualified to determine the judgment, okay? And it will go to court, and it will play, it will have its day in court, and we'll see what will play out then. So it is an issue that I think the government support would actually bring some further support from the public for the opposition support for the opposition, given where they are currently in the whole political scheme and in the scheme of things, having suffered that crushing defeat. Stuart Young himself was an issue in the election, this bold new chapter and whatnot.
Well, he did not even appear in Parliament Friday,
He didn't appear. Well, because maybe recusing himself on a bill that he thinks that would affect him. But
well, I know you mentioned ethics, and it's something that I really wish on paper we could experience that across the board in the political landscape. But it seems that ethics in the political dynamic that is Trinidad and Tobago is few and far between. It's almost convenient when those are arguing a particular point, because we have seen where that ethics ball has been dropped on so many occasions across the political divide. So I wonder where we are as a country, as our developing democracy, in that particular zone of ethics in the politics, true ethics.
So we actually practice the Westminster system of governance, and it's adversarial politics, which means it's a competition. It is a competition for the political parties to have their way, for the not just parties here, but also for government and opposition as they play out in the parliament to have their way. And JW, what I think, it's interesting that I see this as a mischief, particularly this pension bill. And in law, this is the kind of term when you want to correct a bill as a mischief that needs to be corrected. That's a term they use in law. This is not me with any emotive, trying to impute some emotion here. It is a mischief that needs to be corrected. We've seen some other mischiefs that the new government has tried to, try to correct. So some of them will be popular, some of them will be unpopular. They have to be prepared to deal with the unpopular ones if they are such. For example, the CPEP issue.
Yeah, the mass firings, I was not going to come to that, because that, as much as I understand, I truly understand what is being done, because everything needs structure, and I'm sure they're looking to really restructure and, line up all the dots. But at the same time, there is the fear of job loss, of not having financial security, and a lot of folks are up in arms with the development. What's your take on that mass firing, or at least the perceived mass firings that will transpire in the days and weeks ahead?
Well, I don't know if the term mass firings is correct. So I think that if you are restructuring a system, and JW and I, the CPEP has been, it's not been working really in the interest of our people, especially our grassroots people. These are the ones who get these temporary 10 days or whatever they call it. What we really need is sustainable employment. We need our youth, so we need our unemployed, our underprivileged, let me use that term, to get some kind of sustenance that would last, that would sustain them for a while. It's, the issue CPEP has become so highly politicized, and I think one of the government's concern here is the contractors, is the politicization and the way the contractors are giving out and who are receiving these contracts. Now, I don't want to go into that kind of politics right now, who get in the contracts and who not. I don't have the evidence of who are. But these people who are unemployed, I also have similarly the OJT. We have a lot of them around. I have some in my office, and they're highly qualified. Some of them have degrees, and they're doing OJT jobs because they cannot get sustainable employment. And these are 2 years OJT. And the CPEP, some say the OJT is a glorified form of CPEP. CPEP is similar. What if this is just? I don't know what the government timeline is and what period they're looking at, but to restructure this program in a way. Maybe you need to train them more. Maybe they need to get some qualification. I don't know. But to allow them to help themselves, so to speak, to help themselves so that they can get better jobs. Maybe they will rename it something else. Maybe they will do it in such a way that, they can get renewed and they can be more comfortable. They would get more security of tenure. I am hoping that some positive change would come out of it, but I don't know if it is mass firing and that these people are going to be out of a job for a long time. All they would need to do if the program is restructured is reapply and, try to get back in. And more than likely, those who have been there would be employed again, I think.
Because you're spot on, and the minute that remains, it's really been a political football. I remember on the campaign trail, people would literally tell you they want a CPEP contract, and these are promises that some are kept, some are not kept. But that's how people negotiate their vote, especially if they're able to, or at least there's that perception that they control a particular interests in the area or a community or people they could instruct to go a particular way politically. These CPEP contracts are almost a leverage. It's a brokering tool, as it were.
But it's not progressive. It is not in the interest of a progressive society that is trying to move forward. We need to get our employees, our workers, JW, I'm a trade unionist. I don't support firing of anybody, ad hoc by any means. But we need to restructure it. We need to give them sustainable jobs. These jobs should not be political. And the other point I want to make, generally, is that all of these funds are part of the public purse. It's not the government, it's not the opposition, it's a public purse, and the public purse has to be carefully monitored, and it has to be distributed in such a way that all the citizens get a fair share. It will not be an equal share, but certainly a fair share of the national pie. So on that note, JW, I think this is what we are striving for. We are striving for some level of equity, some level of fairness, and to sustain our citizens.
Dr. Rampasad, thank you as always. Let's touch base soon. Let's see how things pan out with this debate, and we'll do a postmortem when the dust settles. All the best as always. Have a great week ahead.
Thank you so much for having me, JW.
You're most welcome. Dr. Indira Rampasad, political scientist, taking us up to just about, very close to the 7 o'clock news update. I'll see you after 7 with the calls. Let's touch base.
The L. Edwin Hair, Skin, Wellness, Beauty, and Beyond Exposition is here. Our wellness providers will be on site to offer free consultations. Our fitness providers are all geared up to kickstart your wellness and fitness journey. Our travel agents are giving away free hotel stays to Grenada and beyond. Join us at the Center of Excellence on July 5th and 6th at the Bougainvillea Hall, where everything comes to life. Tickets are only $100. Let's elevate your image, your event, and your lifestyle. We can't wait to see you there.
Gaming Express Limited is a premium importer and retailer of the highest quality brand name electronics. We stock the widest range of PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, Samsung, and Apple devices and accessories. Visit us at Shop 52, Level 2, Gulf City Mall in San Fernando, or contact us by phone or WhatsApp message at 687-7480 or 301-9797 or 798-1280. Like our Facebook and Instagram pages for updates on products and services.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Trinry, premier insurance coverage for less.
I'm looking for a magic for this disaster of a war.
You need a master plan.
A what?
Kaleidoscope Weathermaster Exterior Latex Emulsion. It stands up to our wicked sun and crazy rain. It shields against fading, protects against mildew, and is crack resistant. This paint so tough that it is tried and tested against British standards and formulated with European raw material.
Kaleidoscope Weathermaster Exterior Latex Emulsion, the premium outdoor paint that protects and shields against fading. Available at hardware and Kaleidoscope color shops nationwide.
Good morning, I am Chester Sambrano with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC radio network. Heritage Petroleum continues its emergency response operations following the reported hydrocarbon leak in the river course from Taruba to Marabella. Heritage says the 12-inch trunk pipeline has been repaired and air quality monitoring and testing are continuing. Preliminary assessments conducted at Marabella South Secondary School indicate that air quality levels are within acceptable limits. On Friday, 57 Bayshore residents were relocated to the Royal Hotel and have not yet been told when they would be able to return home. Meanwhile, other residents were concerned about the adverse impact the leak would have on their livelihoods. One poultry farmer said he lost a few ducks and chickens who fed near the riverbank, and a crab catcher told us he was forced to discard his traps for fear of selling contaminated seafood as the mangrove is coated in oil.
I just catch crab for a living. I go in the sea and go in the market and sell crab every Sunday. Every day I might sell a little 300-400 in crab, and Sunday I sure to sell a little 1,000 or 1,200 in crab. And it no crab. I just sat on the bank and I was going on the oil, and I can't catch no crab for nobody to eat no oil crab.
Internationally, Israel has ordered Palestinians to evacuate from parts of northern Gaza ahead of increased military action, as U.S. President Donald Trump pushes for a ceasefire deal. People in neighborhoods across Gaza City and Jabalia have been told to move south towards the coastal areas as Israeli military operations intensify and expand westward. At least 86 people were killed as a result of Israeli attacks in the 24 hours before midday yesterday. On Saturday, Trump said on Truth Social that Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was in the process of negotiating a deal with Hamas right now. Well, those were your 7 a.m. news headlines. We'll have another news update for you at 8 a.m. right here on CNC3 and the TBC radio network.
When I am with my friends and those pains that knock me down arrive, I take Panadol Ultra because it relieves fast 5 types of tough pain and it does not irritate the stomach. That's why my choice is always Panadol Ultra to feel relief quickly and enjoy every second. Panadol, release starts here.
Welcome back to the second hour on this, your final day of June 2025. Let's check in with Omega XL. Health tip for today.
The Daily Health Tip brought to you by Omega XL, where health is wealth.
Ever pondered how remarkably adaptable our brain is and how diverse circumstances can reconfigure its structure and function? This process is called neuroplasticity, a symbol of our brain's resilience and adaptability. Whether it's dealing with PTSD or partaking in calming meditation, our brain can transform its makeup. Neuroplasticity is key in showing our brain's remarkable versatility. Now let's delve into how these conditions alter the brain's landscape. Emotional trauma from post-traumatic stress disorder overactivates the amygdala, impacting the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus, leading to emotional reactions and memory problems. Strokes disrupt brain blood flow, impacting speech and muscle control. Alcohol use disorder affects the hippocampus, creating memory issues. Alzheimer's disease interferes with neuron communication, causing memory loss. Migraines affect brain matter due to nerve sensitivity. Brain injuries from concussions cause lasting damage. Bipolar disorder arises from neurotransmitter imbalances, causing mood swings. Multiple sclerosis scars nerves due to immune system attacks. ADHD affects attention network's function. Despite these challenges, there's hope. Activities like meditation increase gray matter, reducing inflammation. Regular exercise improves blood flow and brain cell growth, enhancing cognition. Indeed, our brain is not a static entity, one constantly changing and adapting to different conditions. While some conditions are beyond our control, we can foster brain health. Mindfulness meditation, regular physical exercise, and dietary supplements can enhance cognitive functions. They improve focus, memory, and mental stamina, providing essential nutrients for your brain. Striking a balance is key. One should not overshadow the other. Your choices significantly impact your brain health. Every choice you make can contribute to a healthier brain.
The Daily Health Tip, brought to you by Omega XL, where health is wealth.
Well, health is wealth on this Monday morning. Let's get into our calls. Faizabad is standing by on the line. The lines are open officially, 624-8721 and 627-8658. Faizo, morning.
Morning, Brother Jason. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Faizo. Looking forward, man. Go ahead.
All right, Jason. So I want to touch on a couple items. Number one is the pension reform bill that was before the House.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yeah.
I, as Mrs. Indira would have said that, there was public outcry and outrage with respect to that would have caused the PNMP election. So that is enough evidence to deal with that. In terms of the independent senator, they are not, in my opinion, that is, they are not so independent, because I remember when a particular president was in office, the boy from Faizabad, the PNM planted somebody in there to go up as an independent senator. When the research was done, because they were ought to carry out research to investigate these people, yes, it was found that this person was a very active member of the PNM. As a matter of fact, they were a party group leader somewhere in Arima. Let's move forward. With respect to the CPEP, I did some research last night, and I looked at the intention of CPEP in those days of Mr. Manning, which was very well intentioned in 2002. It became a company, an official company in 2006. Yes? And it was to create entrepreneurs and alleviate poverty. It should be used as a stepping stone, not as a permanent employment base. Right, Jason?
Yeah, of course. Yes, go ahead.
That has changed since it has now become a political football for political parties.
Use Faizabad by both sides of the divider?
That is what I'm going to tell you, by both political parties. That's what I'm going to say, Jason.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, having a real look at this thing and, tear it apart and send it back to the moorings, that is what we want. With respect, and I think we should really look at Jason.
Faizo, that's fair. That's a fair assessment.
Because
that's a fair assessment.
And or I suspect that that it is a political football tool, and that we not bury we head in the sand. And we have to get rid of that because it's taxpayers' money. With respect to the bill before the House, now the PNM would have lost the election, and they said the reason for that is because 100,000 people abstained from voting. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Good.
Well, other reasons too, but that's one of the factors.
Yes. So abstinence simply means I do not support in technicality. Yes?
Yeah.
Right. So that is what is happening before the House right now. When you have 6 or the opposition benches abstaining, what does that mean?
Caller, I want to thank you, Faizo. Caller from Shagonas, who will always call, and he made a point last week that was, well, a matter of fact, like he's on the line, Shagonas?
Yeah, pleasant one, Jason.
Right, I was not talking about you, and you made a point last week that, sometimes we have our debates and sometimes you come in very sharp, but you made a point that was very valid. You spoke about increasing the disability grant. Some of the monies could go towards that kind of endeavor, and I thought that was very thoughtful, because really and truly, the monies that are given to those who are differently able, it's really hard to survive in Trinidad and Tobago every month with that pittance really of a contribution. So I just wanted
Jason,
to
I'll tell you something,
I wanted to say you were spot on with that observation.
We have to try as best as we can to bridge the gap between the I wouldn't say rich, but the filthy rich, right? And the poor and less fortunate in society, right? Crime doesn't only come about as a result of lack of material possessions and money. Crime comes about as more of a mental state, right? And where emotions come into play, like, you know what, I grew up without this, I grew up without that, I don't have this, I don't have that. Some people feel that the world has turned their backs on them, right? And we who are in a more fortunate position in society, we must take this opportunity to make it abundantly clear, not only by saying, but by our actions, to try and help these people who are in a less fortunate position.
Lack of equity. I'll tell you this, when I went to the Middle East in 2019, places like Bahrain, Qatar, Dubai, people don't even lock their door because there is enough to spread out and to go around. So there's one thing really for nothing, and those are areas that are pretty safe for those who would have visited or live on that side of the world. But go ahead, Shogunas. We have about a minute again. Go right ahead. Go fast.
Yes, I fully support what it is the government is doing in connection with the CPEP. You see, a lot of people do not understand these things, right? CPEP cannot be used, right, by people. People need to open their minds more. Just as cutting grass today, cutting grass tomorrow, and surviving on $100 a day. People need to wake up and realize that this is just a stepping stone and an opportunity to go forward, right? What they are doing, right, is trying to enhance CPEP to make it more about something more lucrative, something more opportunity-wise for the people itself. Understand what I'm saying, Jason? So as for where all these things are concerned, as with the opposition giving opposition to these things, I have no problem with the opposition opposing, but oppose with logic. Don't oppose with just on the emotions of people and trying to use this as a political tool. All right, Jason. But here what I'm saying, kudos to the Commissioner of Police, right, where he is taking the action out and they're putting things in place to take action against the parents of unruly school children and those who intend to be bullies in school and try and bully their way, right? So I guess in all fairness, Jason, I guess that statement is it might be coming forward now that they'll be taking care of their PNM parents, right? And Jason, you have a good day.
Olibas Shogunas. The commissioner, his maiden speech, he mentioned that, and they're coming in sharp. So parents, let's really take hold of our charges and ensure that we do the right thing and hold them accountable before the police have to hold on to them. We head to Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz.
Yeah, morning, I'm Jason.
Welcome, my brother.
Yeah, morning to the people of Santa Cruz. I just want to strengthen my point with the whole question of the legislation with respect to the pension, because I will listen to Dr. Rampasad this morning, who's saying that the PNM should support that legislation. And I am saying the PNM was wrong in terms of not voting against the legislation, because what had happened, abstention is giving support to something. We need to understand, and I heard her saying that we're following the Westminster system. But yes, you would remember, if we follow the Westminster system, not too long in England, that they had Theresa May, didn't even last 5 months in office.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You also had, I think it's Sankit, didn't last long in office.
And even
you also
Boris
had, I think, was Gordon Brown, who leaves sometime midway.
Yeah, they had a couple of prime ministers
P.J. Patterson leave halfway. You also had Golden leave halfway to put Portia Simpson. You understand me? And these are political strategies that people use in the party if they feel to themselves that they're not popular enough. Stuart Young did not create the law, and he did not make the law. And what I am saying is, you cannot make a law for a particular individual not to benefit. Because if that is the case, we must understand, and what the population do not know, the present Prime Minister is drawing a Prime Minister pension and also drawing a Prime Minister salary. I believe they should make a law, as long as you're getting a Prime Minister pension, you cannot sit back in office to get another Prime Minister pension. Because I can remember, Hassan Ali, former president, gave up one of his pension, I think the judge's pension, and accept only the president's pension. So the law is a wrong law. It's wrong in terms of making it retroactive to being vindictive to an individual. And I stand by that. So Dr. Rampasad could talk how much you want to say PNM should support it. PNM was wrong not to vote against the legislation. This is Mr. Santa Cruz signing off. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz, always passionate. Always passionate, and solid points too across the board this morning. That's what I love the calls and love the open forum. Let's use out there. Grandy, I believe, is standing by. Final call this morning. Grandy, it's yours. The floor is yours.
Hello, morning.
Yeah. Morning, Grandy. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Yeah, what happened? I concerned about the CPEP workers out of a job, about 10,000 of them out of a job. I believe the promises that the UNC promised they will create about 5,000 jobs or 10,000 jobs. They should reconsider the firing of the CPEP workers, because there's a lot of single parents and people who need that CPEP job. So they could reconsider that. Hello?
Yeah, of course. I'm listening, Grandy. I'm listening.
Yes, I find it as a promise. They promised they will create a few thousand jobs, and they're supposed to consider the CPEP workers.
Now, Grandy, I understand your concern, and I think everyone with a heart would lean in that direction. But I think we also have to consider that there is major restructuring and some kind of a repurposing, as it were, of CPEP and what it really supposed to stand for. Grandy?
Yeah, but that is what they will use, the restructuring. But we're saying that the concern about people's jobs, and that is what they promise.
Yeah, and again,
that is what they promise, that to consider people's jobs. Sometimes there's restructuring. You have to consider people's jobs too, because their salary is above. You understand? So they ain't concerned about their salary. They're concerned about the CPEP, the small people's salary.
Yeah, solid. Thank you for that, Grandy.
They have to show consideration about that too.
Of course, Grandy.
Because
we hear you loud and clear. Always great to hear Grandy and all the callers weighing in on the leading discussions and topics of the day. Tomorrow, again, once time permits, we will open the lines for some more. Let's head now to the first interview inside this hour number 2. We touch base with Professor Roger Hussein, no stranger to the program, economist, and we're dealing with the TTRA repeal, rising national debt, and the issue coming out of St. Vincent. I have to bring that to you when we come back after the call with their Prime Minister Gonzalez, making a sharp criticism towards the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Professor Hussein up next.
Manage inflammation with Omega XL, a one-of-a-kind, powerful, natural anti-inflammatory supplement that has helped millions find relief from their pain, just like world-renowned cricketer Dwayne Bravo.
Don't wait until it's too late. Take care of yourself, take care of your health with Omega XL. Omega XL helps us to work hard, play hard. This is your champion, DJ Bravo, and I approve this message.
Live healthy, stay strong with Omega XL. Visit your local pharmacy or health food store today.
Ready to turn heads and steal the spotlight? Then head to Rosari Bridal Couture, your all-in-one fashion destination for every celebration. From stunning bridal lehengas to simple everyday shalwas, sparkling jewelry, affordable kids wear, stylish Muslim clothing, and even puja essentials, we've got it all under one roof. Get free footwear with any bridal outfit and get free matching bangles with kids wear. Need the perfect fit? Our in-house tailor is here for you. We're open 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Just take the Southern Highway to Brentwood, Chaguanas and call 723-9099 for more info. Rosari Bridal Couture, where fashion meets celebration, all inclusive.
Looking for a supermarket that has it all? Welcome to Food Shopper Supermarket, where big really means big. Enjoy secure parking, spacious aisles, and a spotless modern store that makes shopping a breeze. From fresh produce to everyday essentials, you'll find unbeatable prices and friendly staff who are happy to help. We offer a safe and secure gated compound with a large parking facility for your shopping needs. Number 121 Eastern Main Road, Ariba, Clear Chai Road Compound, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Food Shopper Supermarket. Every day, low prices.
Don't forget our grand celebration, June 28th. Bring the whole family.
Professor Roger Hussein joins me on the Zoom line, economist. And by all means, Prof, I want to say, always a pleasure and treasure. Thank you for the time. Lots to unpack this morning, so I want to go immediately to a development out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Now, recently, at a OECS delegation meeting, Prime Minister Gonzalez, no stranger to Trinidad and Tobago. He's a man, he's always here. He says, St. Vincent, they are being owed right now $4 million US. Trinidad and Tobago's government failed to pay the debt, and he says this is rather disrespectful as far as he's concerned, because St. Vincent and the Grenadines spend more than $60 million US annually on imports from Trinidad and Tobago. A matter of fact, he suggests here that the government is going to pay him, or they have paid with TT money, that he cannot use in St. Vincent. Their currency, of course, is EC, and well, US is the globally accepted money, at least for us here in the West. I want to take you to the actual development from the Prime Minister himself, and let's unpack the layers.
Our country pays Trinidad and Tobago annually in excess of US $65 million. We pay in hard foreign currency for visible exports from Trinidad, mainly petroleum products and manufactured goods. But our sister CARICOM country cannot find less than a miserly $4 million US in foreign exchange to pay for our agricultural products. This is absolutely unfair and ridiculous. Our traders are paid in Trinidad and Tobago dollars, which are not convertible outside of Trinidad and Tobago. In Trinidad, they have to use the money to buy goods in Trinidad if they want to make some money on the back end. If they bring up the Trinidad and Tobago money, it may as well they bring up monopoly money.
I mean, monopoly money and the sound of laughter in the background in this OECS meeting. You know, this is a rather sharp criticism from a sitting Prime Minister. I mean, that discussion could have happened behind closed doors, but he said it in the public domain for all to know what's happening. Your take, Professor, on that development?
Well, good morning, and thank you for the invitation. What I would say is that he is raising an important concern, the relative inability of Trinidad and Tobago purchasers to pay in US dollars. Now, this is a cry that we have been hearing across the board from even our own small SMEs, their inability to get access to US dollars. This problem will continue. This problem will continue in some form or the other for the next 3 to 5 years. It's not going to go away easy. And what we have to do is to find mechanisms to work around it. Now, recently there was a suggestion by some of the governors of the Central Bank of the region for a new cap system where payments could be made in various ways in the home country's currency. I hope that matures and it provides some kind of intra-CARICOM alternative to countries like Trinidad and Tobago that are struggling for foreign exchange. We all know the problem. It makes no sense to go back and say, for the last 10 years, what happened. We all know the situation we are in. What I would alert the public is that the difference between reserves and external debt has now gone to about minus 600 million US. I keep raising this with the large banks in Trinidad and Tobago and keep encouraging them to let us push an intervention that can identify some of the low-hanging fruits in manufacturing and tourism and so on, and sharing it with the Ministry of Planning and the Ministry of Finance so they can action it. We still have to get some feedback on that, but this is a very trying time. It's not going to go away. Other countries with status echo the same complaint because they are not being paid. Their small producers are not being paid in some cases in US dollars, and therefore, I mean, it's unfortunate the use of the term monopoly money. We are not in that terrible position, but from the perspective of the home country, say in St. Vincent, the money has no value. So you could kind of sympathize with why they may be thinking that way. But our money is not monopoly money. Our economy is still we still have a per capita GDP of about 22,000. We still produce we are still the largest energy producer in the Caribbean, excluding recently rising Guyana. So we are still a strong player, but we have a lot of groundwork to do to fix the structure of production, structure employment, and structure of exports.
So, you know, again, I would imagine for him to make that utterance in such a meeting, probably whatever negotiations or conversations on the back end, probably not fruitful, because that seems to me like a frustrated Prime Minister there to make that kind of claim and again, to call our money monopoly money. That's a big joke up the islands. People say that about our money all the time, but as you rightfully said, we are still strong. Our disposable income is sometimes even more. Granted, yes, we're still under some pressure here financially. It's not all all milk and honey. But I know our disposable income and what we're able to do sometimes is way more than some of our neighbors up north. But a rather interesting development there. And with that, we have to consider the TTRA repeal. From what I understand, it's more or less a kind of restructuring, as it were. If you could just give us a basic overview, and if you could set in a really functional way, where is the money going to come from to finance our external debt and more so keep the wheels of the economy turning?
Very good question, JW. Very good question. Now, so from where I sit, the next 5 years, as I said earlier, is not going to be easy at all. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be extremely difficult. And we have to put mechanisms in place to generate this extra foreign exchange. Now, the general focus has been on generating more from the energy sector. So we have Manati coming on stream. We have opportunities that we can harvest from the oil sector. If we push the lease out, farm out lease out program some more, and we give some of these mature fields to the small players, then we can have ecosystems built around these mature fields that generate some greater amount of economic activity and by extension bring more foreign exchange in the country. So that's the energy sector. Of course, we continue to pursue opportunities, and you have been hearing things about Suriname and Grenada and Guyana. We pursue all those things. Then comes the hard test. The hard test is, what do we do in non-energy? Now, to me, the lowest hanging fruit is in the manufacturing sector because it's already there. We already have capacity built up in many places. And because the capacity utilization ratio in the manufacturing sector is about 68%, we still have a further 32% spare capacity in manufacturing we could use. We could use that to increase production and therefore exports to Guyana, Suriname, and other Caribbean countries, including the Dutch Caribbean that have fairly high per capita GDP. So that requires some homework. And again, we have been in various ways trying to encourage the big banks like Republic Bank and FCB to pursue some of the relevant scientific work to make the data and information available so that we can reduce the probability of error. The second thing is tourism. We are a very weak performer within the region in the tourism sector. And I am going to say that over the next 15 years, unless we could change overnight tourism from about 376,000 in 2024 to about 2 million plus in 2040, we are going to continue to struggle as a nation. And therefore, I urge policymakers in Trinidad and Tobago to make tourism one of the most aggressive drives that it undertakes in terms of expanding tourism inflow.
And you know, I just want to, and I want to continue, but as you mentioned the tourism, you know, we have to consider they closed down the hotel school there in Chagaramas. Service, it's been a major part. Yes, there are certain pockets where you go and you get immaculate service, but that's not the standard in Trinidad and even, may I dare say, Tobago. And for us to improve on this tourism product, I think there needs to be a major thrust towards training and a changing of our mindset and culture.
Of course, but if you are going to move from 376,000 to 2 million, at a minimum, you therefore have a number of parts to move. One would be training, one would be attracting sandals to Tobago or some other big hotel, one would be developing the north coast of Trinidad, and you have a number of parts you have to move all at once, increasing airlift, improving the tourism product itself and the service aspect that you mentioned. We need to get cracking because without that tourism and manufacturing pull, as well as pushing export-oriented agriculture some more, all of these foreign exchange problems you are hearing here, they will not go away. They will remain to haunt us, and it is going to get even worse. As I started off at the start, I said that the difference between reserves and external debt fell from about 8 to 9 billion in 2011 or thereabouts down. It's now down minus 600 million. Let me please repeat that, from 9 billion to minus 600 million. So a lot of people are talking and chattering in the background about all the things that should be done, but we have to get the things done. We have to put in the hard work look at the production possibility frontier, look at the ways we could change the structure of production, the structure of employment, and the structure of exports. Otherwise, we are just going to deteriorate. By the end of next year, God forbid, we would probably reach about minus 1.5 billion as the difference between reserves and external debt. And if we think it is bad now, and you are forcing getting 200 US at the counter, it's possible that could even fall to 100 US or even 50 US later on.
What about the maritime product? Because, I mean, I know we would have had that discussion, and I've heard others suggest that's a low-hanging fruit. We could really restructure that whole Chaguaramas Peninsula. Obviously, we are a safe haven, the most southern of all the islands. Not really, you know, when it comes to the storms and hurricanes, especially in this season, most go a bit north. For some reason, I remember in the 80s, down there was a busy and active place, and it doesn't seem to be that way. Well, it's not that way for sure in this 2025. How we could get our maritime product up and going?
Well, we need support. We need to work as a team. We need to hunt as a pack of wolves. You are perfectly correct. When you go to places like St. Martin or Curaçao, the yachting sector is a big driver of foreign exchange on shore. And we, as you quite correctly pointed out, we are geographically located in a suitable area, and we have in that Western Peninsula, we have the facilities to expand the yachting sector even more. And when I looked at the tourism multiplier, the yachting tourism multiplier for St. Martin, I think it was about 3.14, a very high number. So we need to get serious. Listen, this is an extremely bad situation, and we have to push the policymakers. I know Jesse James, who is involved with the yachting sector, does a lot of good work and has been fighting tooth and nail to get that sector going again. And so too is Dr. Indira Sajwan Ali, who does a lot of work on that sector. We need to bring those things to front burner, but it has to move away from small talk and abusing the technocrats when they speak, to getting the work done and deploying the best minds in the best area and pushing our opportunities forward.
Let me ask you, Professor, if for some reason water, mud, and flour, and like what we would have seen in the 80s where many could not pay their mortgage and had to pick up themselves, and we saw that mass migration to places like Canada and the US. We're talking that 86 to 91 period, where lots of Trinis left. If for some reason that repeats itself, now I don't want that to happen, obviously we want the very best and brightest to remain here at home. But if there was, in the years ahead, any kind of mass migration, people seeking a better life elsewhere, what will that do to the economy, Professor?
Well, of course, if we lose our best and brightest brains, that would lead to a massive loss in productive capacity. To be honest, I think that we have passed the worst. I think that growth has started to return in a slow way. But what is needed now is a scientific maneuvering of the growth. Because although we are getting growth, a lot of the growth is coming from the non-energy sector that is import for distribution oriented. We need to recalibrate the economy in a way that this economic growth comes more from the export oriented sector, so that it comes with foreign exchange. You see, when you have made so many errors in the last 10 years, you have lowered and reduced the policy making space. So the policy making space is now no longer focused on economic growth. We are past that. It's focused on economic growth that generates foreign exchange now, which is an even smaller circle. And unless Singh and Minister Maharaj and these other ministers are acutely focused on changing the production possibility frontier and the geographic location we operate in that productive space in such a manner and form that they drift us closer to an output level that earns more foreign exchange in the things we produce, we are going to crawl. We are going to struggle, and I urge policymakers to host a spotlight on the economy, be level with the population, show them the truth, explain to them where the dilemma lies, and let us hunt together like a pack of wolves, all of Trinidad and Tobago, and fix this problem, because it is very bad.
So as we wrap things up, Professor Hussein, just again to get your perspective on the TTRA repeal, your closing commentary on that development.
Well, I don't really. I think we should have gone forward with the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority. The new government, in its judgment, has changed that, and therefore we look forward to the changes that they would make to improve on the existing system that we have and collect revenues in the manner and form that they think is best. They are new. We voted them in overwhelmingly. We have to trust their judgment because we put them there, and therefore let's give the situation some time to unravel and work itself out and see how it goes. That's what I would say.
Professor, as always, a sincere thanks. Always a joy having you on the program, and let's touch base soon.
Thank you for your time and have a good day.
Indeed, economist Professor Roger Hussein giving us some perspective on our economic outlook. We come back, a very heartfelt conversation. Camille Swap, child and adolescent development psychologist, joins me because, as you know, we're having that discussion with the young children, with their behavior. We're seeing an iron fist approach to what we're seeing in the schools, and even more so with the SEA results around the corner. That conversation again, SEA reform. Let's have that discussion up next.
The L. Edwin Hair, Skin, Wellness, Beauty, and Beyond Exposition is here. Our wellness providers will be on site to offer free consultations. Our fitness providers are all geared up to kickstart your wellness and fitness journey. Our travel agents are giving away free hotel stays to Grenada and beyond. Join us at the Center of Excellence on July 5th and 6th at the Bougainvillea Hall, where everything comes to life. Tickets are only $100. Let's elevate your image, your event, and your lifestyle. We can't wait to see you there.
Thunderwal, powering industry, fueling progress. Reliable fuel pumps, meters and nozzles. From dock to deck, marine tools, hoses, PPE and fittings. Hydraulic, automotive and food grade oils and lubricants. For all your manufacturing needs. Pallet jacks, intrinsically safe tools and more. Browse live stock and prices on our website at www.vanderwalett.com. Visit us today.
Visit Tire Clinic Marketing, New Truck and OTR Tire Service Center at number 30 and 32 Montrose Main Road, Chabonas. Call today at 665-8973 or 672-3419. Alignment services available. Tire Clinic Marketing, Truck and OTR Service Center. A tire for every need.
Are you ready to innovate, create, and lead? Welcome to Innovation Nation 2025, where big ideas turn into real-world solutions. This is your time to shine. Join Innovation Nation 2025 and shape the future one idea at a time. Registration ends Wednesday, June 30th.
Quality food to fill your basket. Get it all at Southern Food Basket. Fresh goods on every aisle with best prices. For the best mix and market, high quality, yes. It's affordable, spacious, and customer friendly. From the farm to the cart to your plate, Southern Food Basket, good food at great prices. Come on home, everybody, don't you wait. Southern Food Basket's the best marketplace for you. Southern Food Basket. Quality food to fill your basket. Southern Food Basket. Quality food to fill your basket.
Some of us like to test limits, but there won't always be second chances. Obey the speed limits. Maybe you don't value your life, but others value theirs. A message from the TTPS.
Sportsmanship is when an athlete walks off the court and you can't tell if he won or lost because he carries himself with pride either way. This quote is an embodiment of sport, and for me, sport is an embodiment of life. We are where you are.
Get the story first. Want to know what's happening in news, sports, or crime? Get the CNC3 app. As the story breaks, CNC3 is there giving you the story first on your mobile device. Be connected to the most trusted and reliable news source, CNC3. Access your world with just a tap. The CNC3 app. Download it today.
Tune in to Betterments with host Base, Monday through Thursday, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. for a program that educates and is solution-based. Base tackles the issues that matter to you, providing a platform to speak your mind and find solutions. That's Betterments with Base, with a focus on education and resolution. This is all about making things better for you. So if you want to make a difference and have your voice heard, tune into Freedom 106.5 FM and join us for Betterments with Base, Monday through Thursday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Better for you. Only on Freedom 106.5 FM, where we believe that your voice matters.
Child and adolescent development psychologist Camille Swap joins me on set. Always a pleasure to have Camille with me on the program, and we get a chance, as always, Ms. Swap, to dive into the talking points. And there's a major development where, and funny enough, when it happened, my mind ran on you immediately. We're talking about the commissioner, police commissioner, in his maiden speech. He would have put the country on notice. Most of the parents, take care of your charges. If you don't take care of your charges, we as the TTPS will have to treat with them. We saw coming out of that statement the big fight in Couva, the girls who jumped, unfortunately, the convent girl, they're now being charged. And the government also putting out a mandate that bullying and that kind of advantage will not be tolerated. So it's from a want of a better word, an iron fist approach at this point in time. And much of the public, they are indeed on board with this new strategy and plan. And when I heard of that, my mind ran on you, because I know that you look at this from a holistic point of view. What's your take on the current climate with our students? I want to start there before we segue to the SEA.
Good morning, JW. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And I want adults to listen carefully. The environments, the policies that we make for our school system, and also what adults in the home know about children and the teen development, even to young adult. And that's up to age 25, because we keep saying that children are more adult in their brain development in thinking somewhere between 25 and 30. Before that, we're responsible to create loving, caring, joyful environments with less stress, because they know enough now about children's brain development that when we create hostile environments at school and hostile environments in homes, then we get the problems that we see. So we're just looking at the children's behavior, but we're not looking at our educational policies. We're not looking at the stressful environments that children have to learn in and be sorted in. And we're not looking at what the home needs, in which to know more about how to help their children to be healthy, happy, and behaving well. So we really need to look at the entire thing, and the Caribbean is lagging behind on this key area of child and teenage development.
Well, you mentioned the word stress, and I guess we could always get back to the iron fist policy, but lots of that stress, I guess the first stress point, that first junction of real, as they say, pepper skull with parents and the children is with the SEA exam.
Yes.
Of course, it's graduation season, all these standard fives, looking forward to Form 1 in September. Results will be out soon.
Yes.
We have heard of this SEA reform for the longest while. One, how could we get to that place, and what's the best structure to ensure that the right students go to a school that is aligned with their drive, their academic position at that point in time, and aligned with their passion?
The first thing is that we have a historic thinking that we are to sort them. Childhood is dynamic. The brain is growing and changing every day. So for example, the spiral curriculum that we have, parents Google it, teachers Google it, it talks about going from one level and you keep coming back with the topic with a higher level of complexity. But we bought a curriculum to go with an exam where the curriculum, the thinking was it would not be stressful for the child. But when you place that kind of curriculum where the teacher sees all the levels and you put it with a placement exam, that's a stress point there. Because if you're going to give the child the same information from Standard 5 to Form 1, then why would you sort them and say they're silly? So what children are saying, and this is not just in Trinidad and Tobago or Jamaica where I'm from, internationally schools are looking at themselves because they also contribute towards a child being violent, not just the home. So the home and the school will have to know more about how children grow and learn and how could children become joyful learners, because that heightens creativity, heightens academic success, and heightens good behavior.
How does a school contribute to a child being violent?
At school, whatever you do in school, how does a school contribute to you getting an A in biology or a C? Remember, everybody is affecting children's brains, not just families. So in the Caribbean, we're stuck on families. Families are very important, but I can be a parent that's not aggressive. My child's father, not aggressive. And I can send my child, based on the fact that the child got a low score at a point in his or her life, to a school that more sad children go to because they don't feel good about themselves. And my child can become aggressive in that environment. All environments shape children. This is science.
And it brings us back, I guess, to the original point that if a child who is pretty much a calm, collective child goes to a school that might be
more aggressive in its environment,
they adapt to the environment because they're probably being pressured. I guess people are at the point now where they want that iron fist. They want to bring down the rule of law to ensure that parents, and also the school, if the school administration is dropping the ball and not bringing justice to the parents, hold them accountable. And that's why I guess people are on board with this very stiff and stern approach for those who are deviant.
Yes, we have seen the deviance for years, and it has gotten progressively worse, sadly. But we, as in the homes and in schools, we have not changed. We have not seen that our environment, so your new Minister of Education, Honorable Dolwat, is it?
Yeah.
Dawat. He talks about a child-friendly environment. Now I can listen to that.
And he's an educator.
And he's an educator. So bring in our child-friendly environments. And when you get the SCA results, the entire Trinidad and Tobago, celebrate all children and say, well done, and anything you did not get right, we are here for you to help you to do better.
But is that, and again, I understand and I'm spot on, but there are those who might say that might give children a false sense of the world because really and truly only the cream of the crop rise to the top. And those are the ones who are celebrated.
That's our saying in the Caribbean, because when we get our green cards to go away, or we go to Canada, or we even go to Mother Britain, we see that some of what we do in the Caribbean, not all that we do is wrong. We have a value for education, high value. Yes, you must challenge children. The brain needs a challenge. But when you overwhelm children, you damage their brain circuits, their connections that's growing and developing at a rapid rate. Let me just say this. This is from studies. Impoverished environments, ones that overwhelm children with expectations beyond their current capacities, interferes with brain potential. So when you are shouting at the child, when you're telling the child you're no good because you did not get a high grade at the end of your primary school years to go to high school or secondary school, you are creating an impoverished, not just lack of food, you are creating an impoverished environment, and you are seeing a lot of fighting, even in what is considered good schools, because some of the children even scored high. They're under enormous stress. So adults, if we're going to bring the iron fist down on children, children respond to how adults treat them, because the good story is there are many children in Trinidad and Tobago. they are experiencing some joyful learning. What's this joyful learning? I'm at home and I feel no fear to get a low grade because my parents are just going to help me, but they're not going to shout and scream and tell me I'm no good. I am experiencing some kind of joyful learning at school because the teacher takes time with me. And nobody's telling me I came to a school that's no good. Or you're still sorting. So I say, if you want to come with the iron fist, use the iron fist on the adults. When adults meaning in a more soft approach. Change our school system, improve our school system, stop Dr. Cyril Burt's 11+ British failed model of testing people at the end of primary school, now called SEA, called PEP in Jamaica. Gives all good schools to children. Joyful learning also has to do with nature, the development of the brain, meaning this. Children who are born between August to January are more at risk for school failure because your entrance age is 5 and you're taking a poor little 4.5 girl or boy. So then you're limiting joyful learning and what maturation can do to understand concepts.
Camille.
That affects behavior too, you know.
Wow, I didn't even consider
age. But children differ from adults. So stress makes children have externalizing behavior.
Camille, let's take a pen. We're going to take a short break and we come back to wrap up this discussion as we work our way to 8 o'clock. Stay with me.
Thank you.
Presenting the most modern pharmaceutical facility in the country, Food Basket Hyperfarm Pharmacy Food Basket Complex, Arima. We stock the widest range of health and beauty products, baby supplies, stationery, fragrances, and cosmetics. Our organic, sugar, and gluten-free products cater to vegans and the health conscious. A wide assortment of dispensary medication and over-the-counter items at the most affordable prices. Make Hyperfarm Pharmacy your choice. Located on the compound of Food Basket Complex, Arima.
Embrace life with Guardian Life.
Every sunrise brings a new beginning, a quiet promise that we're never truly alone in life's journey.
So grateful for this precious life. Embrace it with a fearless stride. Dig so deep to turn your dreams to reality. With a bright future on your side. Through every journey you will find what you've earned and accomplished. You now deserve to be. Embrace life with Guardian Life. Only you can pave the road for your legacy. Embrace life with Guardian Life. Every step is one step closer to live easy.
Embrace life with Guardian Life. Life, health insurance, and pension solutions.
When I am with my friends and those pains that knock me down arrive, I take Panadol Ultra because it relieves fast 5 types of tough pain and it does not irritate the stomach. That's why my choice is always Panadol Ultra to feel relief quickly and enjoy every second. Panadol, release starts here.
At Cruise Inn Hotel and Yachting Center, we're all about time. In fact, once you check in, there's no time to lose. Reconnect with a little family time. Make a splash with some pool time. Spend some treasured quality time. Or just immerse yourself in some quiet time. Indulge your senses at dinner time. We even have the perfect venue when it's your celebration time. So it's high time you visit Cruise Inn. Choose our day pass or call 607-4000 to make your dinner or hotel reservations or to find out more about our event spaces. Take a time out at Cruise Inn Hotel and Yachting Center.
Camille Swap with me on the program as we look to wrap things up on this Monday. Of course, Camille is a child and adolescent development psychologist. I'll let you have the final say, Camille, as we continue this very important discussion of joyful learning, of finding ways to treat with the children based on their capacity at the point of their development, as opposed to this very iron fist and hard line approach that many of us apply based on sometimes our own treatment as children.
Yes.
And there are many who say, well, I get that kind of treatment and I are dead.
It's intergenerational, and it's certainly from the cane field. And we only see punishment as, that's the only thing we have in our toolbox.
But what you say to those who say, well, I went through that and I are dead, I come out good. People say that, does it come on cry?
We say things flippantly, and our marriages don't last, and our relationships at work, we are high scorers at work, and our staff rates us and say they don't want us to be managers. Human development is more than just the role we play and the score we attain. It's a journey of life given to us by God. And I'm saying, my belief system is Christian. I'm from the Methodist group. And I'm saying to the church, and I'm saying to other religious, join the conversation about saving our children in Trinidad and Tobago and our teenagers and Jamaica and other Caribbean territories. And stop just blaming the family. The family has a role. The school affects the family. The family affects the school. Let's come together, community to community, to discuss children and teens' development, joyful learners. We all can become joyful. And that replaces anger and violence and stress. So the police will always have an approach. But what's the other approach from a group of helping professionals like psychologists? Psychologists can't sound like teachers. Teachers mightn't sound like psychologists. We need to come together and save our children, because our children's behavior is a reflection of all of us, not just homes, the society.
Camille, as we wrap things up, based on your research, looking at other case studies across the world, what becomes of children? What would usually become of a child who goes before the court, like in the case of these girls who will be charged, go before the court, and, well, I don't know if they'll be on bond or they'll... You know, but really fast in a couple of seconds, what happens to...
Well, you could use Scandinavia. They really don't believe in violence for violence, and especially upon their children. So when their young people went away to ISIS and all of that, when they came back, they had teams to restore them. So there is restoration, and yes, it is frightening. Nobody wants a child in a school where a child is going to be harmed, but do not create environments either that make children hostile. We have to work on that. Look at this. Google this. Sweden, a generation without smacking. This is some 50-odd years ago. More peaceful societies. They have crime. A lot of people have crime, but you have to look at the level at which they have it.
Camille, we'll have to stick a pin. I want us to continue this conversation. It's a very important one. As always, thanks for the time. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Peace is there waiting on us. We need to grasp it.
You stay with us. I'm going to take a pause and officially wrap things up. I'll see you soon, TNT.
Thunderwal, powering industry, fueling progress. Reliable fuel pumps, meters and nozzles. From dock to deck, marine tools, hoses, PPE and fittings. Hydraulic, automotive and food-grade oils and lubricants. For all your manufacturing needs, pallet jacks, intrinsically safe tools and more. Browse live stock and prices on our website at www.vanderwalett.com. Visit us today.
Southern Food Basket. Quality food to fill your basket. Get it all at Southern Food Basket. Fresh goods on every aisle with best prices. For the best mix and market, high quality, yes. It's affordable, spacious, and customer friendly. From the farm to the cart to your plate, Southern Food Basket, good food at great prices. Come on home, everybody, don't you wait. Southern Food Basket's the best marketplace for you. Southern Food Basket. Quality food to fill your basket. Southern Food Basket. Quality food to fill your basket.
Well, what an impactful program. The final day of June 2025. Tomorrow we welcome July. It's going to be the first, and we will be here, God spared, to bring you more right here on the Morning Brew. Have yourselves a great day, TNT. Be safe and take care of yourselves and each other. See you tomorrow.
Morning Brew is brought to you by Omega XL. Live long, stay strong.